Welcome to Out of the Noise podcast, a spiritual growth podcast. This podcast is about holding sacred space to help assist humanity to raise their consciousness through connection by having courageous conversations out of the noise of mainstream with heart-centered leaders, wisdom keepers, and divine humans expanding into their authenticity and soul purpose. We will explore spiritual concepts, practices, and to deepen into your healing and the collective. Priestess Lily is a medium, light activator, and heart-centered leader that is committed in raising the light frequency and consciousness here on Earth for us all. You can work with her and learn more by visiting www.priestesslily.com. Enjoy your spiritual learnings.
Hello, beautiful divine souls, and welcome back to Out of the Noise. I'm your host, Priestess Lily, a channeler, medium, sacred heart healer, and space holder. My purpose here is to create content that will uplift humanity, rise our consciousness through connection, and help us connect more to within. Today, I have a truly special guest with me, Kaylene, an intuitive empath, source channel, and brilliant creator behind the Lightseed Crystal Intention Candles. After a successful 30 years career as a hairdresser, Kaylene received spiritual guidance that inspired her to shift paths and create candles designed to help others reconnect with their inner wisdom. Her work is so much more than candles. Each one blends the energy, carefully selected crystals and fragrance, offering a tool for mindfulness, clarity, and spiritual connection. So excited to dive into Kaylene's journey, her creations, and the powerful role these intentions candles play in spiritual practice. If you enjoy this episode, please like and share with your friends and leave us a review. Your support would mean the world to me. Enjoy. Welcome, Kaylene. How are you?
Hey, I'm really good. Thank you.
So let's get into it, because I know that so many of our listeners already use your product, and there will be so many more that will be, after listening today, will be wanting to find your product and very much introduce it into their own spiritual practice. So my first question, because I'm all about let's just rip the Band-Aid off, is I know that you were a hairdresser and you decided to step out of hairdressing and start your spiritual based business, Lightseed Candles. But what was the catalyst or the awakening moment that really activated you in that shift?
Well, it was a thought initially. Well, what actually really initiated it, because it had dropped in a couple of years prior, was candles when I was hairdressing, and it felt like just a bit of a random thought that dropped in, that I thought, oh, that would be a nice thing to make, crystal candles. And I thought, well, I'm not going to do it because I'm too busy doing other things. But when it came through a couple of years later was when I was really starting to think that I was ready for a change. And hairdressing had been something that I was coming up to near 30 years of doing. And as much as I enjoyed it, I felt that that was all I'd ever done, and that I was looking into my future self and wondering whether that would be satisfying to me in another 10 years if I continued to do that. And in my heart, I knew that it wasn't. So I was ready for a change. And then we came into 2020. And I'd already been thinking about having the change. And then I think just that stillness from not being busy with work and all of the other things and rushing off to kids to here and kids to there and fitting everything in, more just started to drop in. And the catalyst for that was when I think prior to this, I had actually, we're going through two different things here, but prior to that, I had written to Spirit. Actually, you were with me at the time. We were both resetting some intentions, and we wrote down what it was that we wanted to call forward. We anointed the papers, and then we burnt them. And what I had written was that I wanted to reconnect with Spirit more and hear Spirit more. And I wanted them to show themselves to me, and that I was no longer afraid of seeing Spirit and feeling Spirit around me. because for a while they had backed off. So that then manifested, I think around, I'm not sure of the exact timelines, but it might have been like 12 or so months later. Initially, and this leads into Lightseed coming into fruition, initially I had a very strong encounter with paranormal activity that, geez, we are jumping straight in, aren't we?
We're not pissing around anymore. I'm like, we're here for the collective shift, and people listening to this will, resonate with it, and they'll find it even. Yeah. So carry on.
Yeah. So what happened was I was just going about my day, and I went down to pop some washing in my room, and then I was in the bathroom, and I was just standing in the bathroom, and a bottle of frankincense essential oil literally levitated itself across the room and dropped on the floor, just literally in front of me. And it was such a bizarre moment when it wasn't frightening. It was just dramatic, and all I could think of was why did that happen? First of all, I hope my frankincense hasn't broken, because it's a really expensive essential oil.
Yeah.
And it was just it was a moment that played on my mind for a long time. Well, Spirit went to such an effort to try to get my attention with a bottle of frankincense oils. Why? But sometimes there's not always a bigger meaning, and sometimes it's more that they're just getting your attention and making you aware. And so it went from that. And then a while later, we're in 2020, and then I started to get visions, and I got very strong visions, and initially it came through in dream form about the candles. So I saw myself looking at logos, and there was about 6 logos on a piece of paper, and I'm looking down on myself in this vision, and I said, I like them all, but it's this one here. And so the logo was very similar to the logo that we have now, with crystal and then the rays coming up, not as refined as that, but crystal cluster and rays. And I woke up in the morning and I said to Scott, my husband, I'm going to be doing something with crystals. I've had this really strong dream, and I know that it's a guidance dream, and I have no idea what and why I'm doing something with crystals, but we'll see. And then later on, next dream came through. My Nana was with me, and she can talk to me telepathically. And when she spoke to me, she said, everything's going to be fine. I'm going to take care of the things inside the house, within the family, and you will be fine to move on with this. And then I saw myself in my garage, which is what we've converted the back of our garage, which was my hairdressing studio. It's now been converted into the candle room. And I'm in the back of the garage and I'm stirring, but I didn't know that I was stirring wax pots, but now I know that. So I just saw myself stirring. And so that's when everything started to come together. I thought, oh, what the heck, I think I'm making candles. The frankincense has moved across the room initially to get my attention, and then my Nana's come. I've had the vision of these logos and crystals, and then my Nana's come through and she's told me, go with it, everything's going to be fine, and I'm stirring. So that's how that came about. And then I started getting pen on paper, and I would wake up, it'd be like 1 o'clock in the morning. Sometimes it'd be up for midnight. I'd just wake up and I'd get up because I had to get out of my head what was coming through. And with that, I was writing down the names, embraced, awaken, and then I was writing down the fragrances that aligned, and then all of the meaning and the meaning of each candle and the intention of them.
Yeah. I think it's so important, because what you've just explained, and I know that also for myself, we normally don't get downloads as one whole thing. They normally start giving us the seeds. They seed us first, or give us those little signs first, because we don't have the capacity or energy space initially to hold the whole vision, because we're too much already in the other stuff. I remember for myself, up here, and prior to 2020, in Picton, so we're probably talking 2018, in the boat, in the Marlborough Sounds, and Spirit said to me really clearly, you're going to be living here. And I laughed and was like, I'm not living here, I'm doing Miss Lily's catering. Like, I was nowhere near anywhere in my aligned energetically. And then when we bought our batch here in 2020, I remember a Maori lady called Kitty coming out of the trees and giving me a porphyry of you're welcoming back home. But even still at that stage, living here was nowhere near on my radar. And now I feel, so I do think that they only give you what you need to plant the seeds for a bigger, when you're ready, it will all divinely come in. And I know that for so many times within my own spiritual journey and the shifts that I've gone through, I think that sometimes if it all came in at once, would go and be paralyzed in fear. And I think that's why right now so many people on the planet are awakening all at once, where our awakening has been subtle since a little child. Yeah. It's quite fascinating because that's something that I think about all the time. How does your own individual spiritual practice influence the way you run your business?
I think I just have to feel connected. And sometimes I get caught up in more, I'm a creative person. And it's funny, I never thought I was a creative person as a hairdresser. It's like, well, you are creative. And I like to be doing things with my hand. And I have so much coming through in my head. I like to express it through my hands, or I like to make things. And so when I began with the Lightseed Candles, I never thought that I was going to be doing all this computer work. I thought I'd be just making candles and everybody would be flooding to the website and they would just buy them. But it just doesn't work like that. E-commerce is just it's such a beast. There's so much involved. And so, I'm coming into 4 years in November down the track now, and I'm really only just starting to understand e-commerce side of things a lot more now, whereas at the beginning I really muddled my way through, and I found it very difficult to go between creating candles and spending so much time perfecting and figuring out because our candles are soy candles, so they aren't an easy material to work with either. Soy is really fickle, and it's natural, so it does its thing. But that was a big enough challenge in its own, and so I felt really stretched going between the candle making and what I had to do with website and emails and all the marketing and so forth and all the Instagram posts and everything else and what to write and what to say. And I just felt like such a newbie and just so way out of my comfort zone. So my spiritual practice is about actually being aware when I'm disconnected, and it's all about how I feel. And if I'm feeling absolutely overwhelmed and bamboozled, I just need to take some space and take a break and actually not, like, there'll be times I just haven't posted on Instagram for quite a while, or Facebook, and that's because there's just too much going on. I've just got to look after my energy, and that's okay. There's no rush to make things move, because you've got to let flow come through, and when you're not in flow, nothing's going to move. It just doesn't. You just get stuck, and then you get in like this paralysis. The word paralysis. It's when you just become overwhelmed and I don't make any action. So I've kind of become aware of that, and yeah, I do. I just like to reset, go outside. Generally, I need to go outside. I can't stay inside all the time. And my spiritual practice in the evening is just letting things flow through my mind as to what the day was like. And that's been a big thing, especially in the last 6 months, that I've found works really well for me. And that is, I'll do a meditation. Initially, this is whilst I'm in bed lying down, I actually think about everything that has happened in the day, and I pay attention to the places that my energy went. And then I can bring my energy back into myself. And if I don't do that, I wake up in the night, I'll have a good wee sleep, and then a couple of hours later I'm awake and I've got all these things going on in my mind about the tabs that I've left open and the things I've got to do tomorrow and the things I didn't do yesterday, and so you can't sleep. So I let it all go before I go to sleep, and then I'm having some amazing sleeps. I'm having some great sleeps, which sets me for the next day, and I'm ready to start the next day fresh. Yeah, just being present.
Yeah, and I think, in the world that we live in right now, that is in constant go and on steroids, and there's so much noise out there, and you just spend 5 minutes on social media and you think, holy crap, that in itself, what people are posting, it's a minefield. It's a minefield, and it's a mind fuck. Let's just say it for what it is. The comparison, everything starts jumping in. Am I good enough? They're the things that it keeps us in that continual that continual loop. I think it's so important, to honor ourselves when we honor ourselves and be present in the moment and what it is that we feel, because then we are actually continually growing and more conscious about our own needs and our own self-care and what we need. And I think because we live in a world that there is so much outer noise, it's easy to give our power away to the beast.
Yeah, that's right. And that feeling of comparing yourself to someone else's journey. You don't know what they've done to be where they're at, and that feeling of not being enough. It's nonsense.
Yeah.
But it happens. It's so easy to fall into it. I think we all, if we're honest, we all fall into that at times.
Absolutely.
Step up, see what's happening.
Yeah. It's quite fascinating. It is quite fascinating. And I think that's our blocks and barriers, that we actually have to realize that we're all individuals. We're all light beings having a human experience. And our human experience at times can be a bit shitty.
Yeah.
So how do you align between your business goals and your higher purpose or your higher self?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Sometimes I get those blurred. I think about, what I want for my higher self, and often I come through with business goals, but I'm not my business. I have to be aware that as much as I've put so much of me into my business, and I never thought it would take as much of me as it does. And maybe that's because I've allowed that to happen. When I say that, I put a lot of time into it, so much time. I start my day and it's okay, but you have to be aware that you're not your business, and at times you've got to, switch off. And so for my higher self, as me, not as a mum or a sister or a daughter or a wife, it's actually my happiness that's important. And you feel selfish because for the last so many years I've been a mother, I've been a wife, and you've been a hairdresser, and you're giving to people. You want people to feel great, and you want people to feel welcome, and I'm an empathetic person. You feel other people's energy, and so when other people are feeling down, you get it. Yeah, you feel that as well, and it's like, no, my higher self actually needs to be. My higher self is who I was when I was a little girl. That's me, my joy, where I wasn't, you're not interrupted by other people's thoughts so much. If you're fortunate to have an upbringing where you're allowed to be who you are, that's your inner self shining. And as we get older, that we block that out. And so my remembering at the moment is to reconnect with that part of me, that little girl, and actually feel free to rediscover who I am outside of all of my titles.
Yeah, I get that completely. Yeah, I get that completely. And I think, for me, people do not understand, when you're in the realm of frequency and vibration, because that's really what mediumship is. Sometimes you just want to just check out and just hang out at home and just be the mum, or just, turn the phone off and just actually be in your own little world. So I completely, utterly get what you're saying and around that. And I think as women, it's really hard to do that because we're in a consistent world that is always about being on. We've got to be on. And I think that's part of right now, collective unwinding, the collective narrative that we are unwinding from, that we are really letting go of, and seeing ourselves and honoring ourselves more as individuals and what it is that we need. We're, as mums, we're really trained to have that guilt.
Yes.
And I think that's really what we're really learning we're re-parenting ourselves and relearning right now. Yeah, absolutely. What rituals or sacred practices do you use to stay grounded while you're navigating just the challenges of life and being a business owner?
Yeah, I just go back to nature.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty simple for me. Is a really quick way to reconnect with myself, my inner being. I really do get caught up in the wonder of, just say, plants, for example, flower that is coming up out of the ground. Like say at the moment, peonies are coming up. They're just pushing through. They've been dormant, but all of that beauty when the peony begins to bud and open is sitting beneath the ground, and that is a real that connects me really quickly into where we have come from as people on this planet, we actually have that same innate intelligence within us, and we tend to forget that. I think people tend to, that's why I believe so much nonsense is happening in the world, is because we forget where we've come from and we see ourselves differently to others. We get caught up in superiority, but nature is a really quick connection for me because we have that same intelligence within us. Just it's not all exposed on the outside. And nature's going through cycles, so we see it at different times of the year, but it's sitting beneath the surface. It's a really quick connection for me that way.
Yeah, absolutely. So how do you incorporate energy work or your energy work into your process of making your candles?
So I connect every time I make a batch of candles. I connect with. I don't have 3 or 4 scents on the go at one time. I'm making one fragrance. Might be 3 or 4 in one day, but initially I'm working with one candle. Say, for example, the Awaken candle. When I make the Awaken candle and I'm stirring in the fragrance, I'm really connecting with the intention of that candle. So I'm stirring and I'm sending gratitude for the abilities of our third eye. So I'm stirring that around. I'm connecting with the intention of the candle, which is awaken, and I'm grateful for the abilities and the innate awareness of which just sits within my third eye and all of the receiving that I'm getting from that. Then I feel that when that's embodying into the wax, it's a bit like when I used to make wedding cakes for a short while. I would close the oven door and I wouldn't think twice of it, but it was a bit weird, but I'd blow a kiss as I shut the door. It's like setting in that, that good luck, that beauty into that creation, because our wedding cakes are sacred. And so, when I'm making candles, these are sacred candles. They are going into someone's sacred rituals and if they're not using them for sacred rituals, they're using them to feel good and to make their home smell nice and to feel a beautiful vibration. So I'm stirring that intention into the candles. I clear the energy in the room, normally with sound, with a singing bowl, or sometimes I use my hands as well, and I can just, if I'm doing the In Loving Memory candle, the Cherish candle, there's a different energy that comes through when I'm making that candle, and sometimes it's quite somber. I do feel really honoured to be making a candle that's going into people's homes to help support them when they're going through grief. And I just connect with what I'm feeling through my hands, and it might be just, moving them through and bringing the energy, holding the energy down and bringing it together. And so they're the ways that I use my my inner knowings and gifts and intentions.
Yeah. So with your Cherish candle, I know it won an award last year at the she.com. I'm curious to know, what was the soul calling to create that candle?
That candle took a bit of time to come through because I knew just needed time, particularly creating a meditation for that one as well. And that one happened when my cousins lost their mum. And so 2 brothers, their dad had passed, and then a few years later their mum passed. So they no longer had a mum or dad. And I felt, and this is my auntie, great auntie, she's my mum's cousin. So professionally, I suppose she was a second cousin to me, but we called her my auntie. And so I just felt so sad that obviously we'd lost her, and what was I going to give them? And, flowers, the boys are not into flowers. And in fact, I don't think my auntie was overly into cut flowers either. And so I thought I'd give them the embraced candle. So I gave them the embrace candle, but it wasn't the embrace candle is for support, for people traveling through a difficult part in their life and just feeling supported. But it wasn't the right candle, and I knew that the In Loving Memory candle was needed for that, and the Cherish candle. So that's when that started to come through, and it probably took about a year or so from there to really bring it into fruition. Figuring out, I think I communicated with some clients as to what fragrances they liked as well, and just made sure that was all on the right track.
Yeah. I think that candle has such a powerful message for people, and like flowers die.
People leave as well, they're all there at the beginning quite often. It's those nights and days where you're feeling sitting alone.
And Grief is something that I think we never completely heal from. It's something that we travel through. You know, we have good days and we have bad days, and, you know, might not feel anything for a month, and then it's that one thing that just tips us to the next point. And so grief, I don't think, is ever healed because it's part of how much we love that soul, and it's something that we're always moving through. I know that for myself, you know, just the last couple of days, I've thought really deeply about my girlfriend, Anna, and it's probably and she's been with me heaps, and it's probably come through more because one of her sons is turning 21 this month. You know, she died when he was 16. And so just that journey of responsibility of, you know, he's now 21. He's now, you know, it's kind of that threshold of, I don't want to say adulthood, but just, you know, just thinking that she's not here to see it. So I think grief is something that we're always moving through. It is something that we don't speak about all because I think there's so much fear about it.
And I think that's part of the reason that I knew that candle needed to have a meditation with it, was to help people travel through their grief, to acknowledge it when it comes through, to, you know, let it come through and address it, reconnect with it. And I feel and I hope that that's a way of healing and acknowledging the thoughts that you're traveling with, not just acknowledging the person or, you know, even the pet that's passed. It's acknowledging what you're traveling through so that you can receive. I feel like when we pay attention to our grief and just, you know, sit with it and be in it, but, you know, allow it to move as well, that we can actually transmit through it a little bit. I don't know the right word, but it's a way that I think it's not going to sit as heavy for as long.
Yeah.
Because you're allowing yourself to process what's coming through and allow yourself to feel those moments of joy also. And when they do come through, just give yourself a little smile or a little laugh and a little giggle, and don't feel bad about it when you're stuck in grief as well. If you're fortunate enough for that to come through, allow that to be a little blessing that's dropping through you as well, for your energy to shift out of the really dense heaviness that grief brings us.
Yeah. I think grief, for me, I see grief as a sacred offering. I see grief as a sacred offering from love that we have been open to feel from someone that's passed. And it's a sacred offering because we sometimes don't acknowledge that love when they're actually here on the planet. And so I see it as a sacred offering. I don't see it, yes, they've moved into another frequency and into another realm, but it's a sacred offering of how much we've received loved and how much we've been offered love.
Yes.
And given love. So I think, you know, understand that they're not here, but I just think that, you know, when people are here, we often don't always appreciate them for the gifts, the learning, the lessons, the love that they've given us. So I think, you know, when we reframe it, it doesn't also have the heaviness on it.
Like almost as though it's a reminder to also, it's a huge loss, and it's, you know, it's a big part of us that goes as well when someone deeply we're connected to leaves, but it's also, like you're saying, a wee message to pay attention to those and be present with those that we do have in our lives at this time.
Yeah, definitely. So for someone listening to this, and I think this is quite an important question because, you know, amount of people that go, I can just go start a spiritual based business, or I can just go do that. I think it's real, and they can, but I think there's so much higher learning in the process. What advice would you give someone that is thinking about starting a spiritual based business or a heart-centered business? What would be the piece of advice that you would give them?
Well, my advice would be, and it's possibly different than other people's, but mine would be to do something that will help others, and also something that you really connect with, but don't just do it for money reasons, and don't just do it to get yourself out of your 9 to 5 either. Just, it's not a quick escape out of a 9 to 5, but if it's something that you really connect with, it will bring you a lot of joy. And ideally, it's something that will be serving other people as well. And I feel like when you're serving other people, like bringing something into fruition, and that can be with a service, it doesn't need to be a creation. It could be a service. Whatever you're doing that's helping others, I feel like you're going to get that guidance to help you for that business to flow. Something that's not self-centered. There has to be something in it for you as well, for you to feel that you want to continue with your energy. There's, it's almost like an energy exchange as well. But that would be what I would suggest. Do something that is heart-centered, something that you really connect with, something that others will connect with as well. And yeah, it's more than a 9 to 5.
Yeah, totally agree. And so in what ways has your business allowed you to serve your soul's mission? What is your soul's mission?
I think my soul's mission is actually this is going to sound cheesy. I think it's to love and to be loved. And I also think it is just, and I'm saying this, my throat's closing over, so excuse me. It's also to speak. I feel that as a young child and, as a teenager, I was told I talk too much. So I was like, stop, teachers, stop talking, you're talking too much. Mum and Dad, be quiet, you're talking too much. Oh, I can see Buddy in the background, he's waking up. Yeah, and so I think that my soul's mission is also to speak more and to, step into my voice and not feel restricted by that. Because as I was younger, I would speak my truth, and I would be around spirituality and what I was experiencing and sensing, and there was this I'm a big number now. I just had a birthday this year, so I'm a big number. I might not say it out loud on here, but well, actually, there's nothing to be ashamed of. So I just turned 50 this year, so I've had a few years. And when I was younger and going through, spiritual occurrings, there was no Google or no Facebook, or the only people that you could talk to about these things was your friends and family. And if they didn't connect with the spirituality realm, then they didn't. I'm not going to say my parents didn't believe me, because they did believe me, but they also dismissed some of my things, and because I guess they didn't really know what to say, but how to comfort me when I had some weird things happening, seeing things or hearing things. And I guess that when I would talk about things with my friends, initially it was thinking other people had the same things, like seeing colours, and then you just start to be aware of this awareness that you're a bit different than others, and people don't believe you, or they'll say, well, it's your imagination, or that, how could that have happened? So you begin to you don't share that. And I feel that as I've gotten older, there's not so much lately, but definitely up until probably age of 45, I had a real shutdown of speaking my truth. And I don't need to prove to other people that this is a reality that we live with. It's just that I feel that if it's the truth, it's a truth, and how great your life can be. Gosh, I sound like I'm preaching, but I'm not. How great your life can be when you tune into this awareness, because it's what we all need to remember, and it's a remembrance that we've forgotten, and it's something to be embraced. So yeah, my voice will open up even more the more that I speak my truth around spirituality and spiritual awareness.
Yeah, I think I also, very much the same. There's no how-to book. When we're growing up, there's no how-to book. And I think that's
for what's
going, yeah. And I think that's so, now there's a lot more. There's the internet to connect us. There's Zoom. There's all of those tools that are actually here to open us up and have deeper conversations. But I feel for me, my spiritual massive shift was seeing Thomas. When I went, he's not going to grow up thinking something's wrong with him.
Mm-hmm.
He's not going to grow up thinking something's wrong with him, and he needs to be fixed. And that was my shift. I was like, he's not going to be 42 stepping into his work. He's going to be 20 stepping into his work. It's about this is more normal. It has been made not to be normal, but it's actually more normal. What's wrong with following your intuition? Like, really, what's
No.
wrong with following what you feel versus what you think you need to do?
Yeah, because of society.
Obviously you and I have more out there experiences, but like, just if we broke it down just for the start of the block, that's it. What's wrong with saying yes to you and no to societal norms? And I just think that is what we're coming back to, exactly what you said, that innate knowing, it's an innate remembering that we're coming back into, and it's really right now being massively activated on the planet. Massively. Think of just your group of friends or peers that have just woken up one day and said, I can no longer do that job anymore, I've got to go do this. Or I see it every day with my clients. I'm like, wow, it's something that when you allow your heart or your heart, your soul's gateway, your intuition to lead, it will never lead you to darkness. It will only ever lead you. It might feel like it's darkness because it's pushing you outside your comfort zone to start with, but it's actually about a cracking open to let the light through. Yeah, yes. I totally agree. I think we have been poo-pooed, woo-wooed, shut down for so long that those poo-poo, woo-woo, shut down people that have done it actually might be having a spiritual shift right now.
Yes.
Because you can't get out of this planet alive. You won't be, that's where the planet's heading en masse in the next 6 to 8 months. People will be awakening to their knowing.
It seems to be moving a lot faster now, doesn't it?
Yeah. And that's because of the frequency and vibration is shifting a lot faster too.
Yeah. And I just want to say, as much as when we were younger, we would have loved to have had a bit of a book or someone speaking on the TV, say, because it was TV then, about spirituality. And it would have been wonderful. But yeah, just trust with what you're going through as well. And speak to trusted people, because it can, in a way, I'm glad that we didn't have a Google out there, because it would have been rather confusing. And this is spirituality, that's not, this isn't, and you must feel this and you must do this to connect, and do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like just trust yourself and trust people that you're speaking to, and don't get caught up with some random, there's so many different leads, isn't there?
Absolutely. And I think that's the thing. I feel like you'll be called to the right people, and to trust what you feel. I think it's so important. Like, what works for me might not work for the other person, because we're all
that's it. You don't
all have to, like, there's 5 different clears. So we all are our body, our intuition is communicating with us differently. And I think that's the important thing. When you think of your knowing, your intuition, some people get it as tingles, some people get it as a clear vision, some people get it as they just know. And I think it's important that we acknowledge that we don't receive it all as a cookie cutter, because we are all innately different.
And it doesn't always drop in when we want it to. When we ask, you might don't give up faith or hold tight, because it does take time. Sometimes you might be connecting and saying, look, I need help with this, I need help, I need support, please help show me the way, to whoever you want to speak to, God, source energy, guardians, guides. We feel in spirituality that it's all the same energy, so different words, different things, use bundle of it all, but just it takes time. You might not receive your information until 5 months later. Don't stop asking.
And that's important. Don't stop asking. I think that's really that's key, because it will come when you're ready to receive it and the way it needs to come. I think we get caught up that it needs to look like a red Ferrari. And it might come in another way, but it'll be in the best version for your highest good.
Yeah, that's right. When you're ready to receive it, and when that energy is ready to come through to you in whatever form as well. Definitely.
Yeah. So can you share any experiences where following your intuition has led to a massive breakthrough, personally or within your business?
Well, the first thing that just comes to mind is that it was actually around the book, and we both randomly happen to be co-authors of.
Yeah.
This I know to be true.
Yeah. This I know to be true. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was this feeling just dropped in one time that I'm going to write a book. You need to write your story. And so I was like, oh, I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't want to share, private, don't want to share that. And then I see the application for the book, This I Know Is True. I think I'd seen it on social media wanting applicants to apply. So I went, okay. So I applied, and they had pulled some cards earlier that day, and the cards were saying, they were all aligning with this happening. So I sent the application. I just had this absolute trust that my name was going to be selected as one of the co-authors, which it was. So that was my way of the beginning of me, and part of this business and Lightseed Candles. I couldn't be anonymous to my spirituality. I had to come out of the closet with it. And so I'd done that, and then I was getting comfortable, but still a little bit abandoning my real deep spirituality in some of my posts. I wasn't really quite connecting with it publicly. And then this came through, and I know that came through as a way for me to, and I felt really vulnerable. I remember writing it, because we submitted a small piece, and they would accept that you're going to be a co-author or not. So once that was accepted, you knew then you had to write a certain amount of words. Can't remember the word count. And I remember writing part of my chapter, and all of a sudden I was just getting really fearful. I was like, no, you can't say that. You can't share that. But I did. And that was part of me opening my voice and sharing my truth. We speak and we help others speak, and we help normalize clairvoyancy, because our 2 chapters were both about clairvoyancy, not the whole book was. So we're helping normalize that. And that was part of me being able to speak. And that, I think, was, part of I can't remember how you worded the question, but part of that coming through that led to that, because there's no way I would have done that otherwise. That was my gift, to feel comfortable to speak my opinions.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. So 3 sacred shares. These are the questions I ask everyone. What is one piece of wisdom or guidance you'd like to leave our listeners with today?
I would like to leave them with follow your truth, follow your knowing, follow your awareness, and be you. Be your unique self. We're all different. We're all different, and that's what one of my the love candle. That's the affirmation on the love candle. Same is not who I am. Claim my light and all that I am. I'm perfect exactly as I am. I am love, and I guess that's that. Yeah, just be true to yourself.
Love that. How do you envision the next chapter of your spiritual journey unfolding?
Oh, I'm envisioning expansion.
Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Expansion, one word.
Yeah. What spiritual practice would you recommend to someone looking to deepen their own spiritual path?
Well, that's a big question, because again, everyone's really unique, but I feel that we all connect with nature. I don't know there's anyone on the planet that could honestly say they don't connect with nature. How can you not be wowed by the size of that supermoon we've just had, or the incredible sunset going down in the vibrant skies, or the beautiful, maybe not flowers, maybe flowers just aren't everybody's thing, but how can you not look at that amazing supermoon and think, wow, the vastness of it all.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nature.
I know nature's amazing. So before we end, do you have any sacred offerings that you'd like to share?
When you're listening to this podcast, there will be a post. I'll pop a post on Instagram or Facebook. And if you would like to mention the word guided in the post, you will go in the draw to win a Lightseed candle. And I think, so one of the newest jar of light candles, you will go into the draw, and I'll pick someone's name out that was listening to this podcast and mentions the word guided, and that word won't be in the post, so you will have had to, I've known you've watched this or listened to this podcast, and you'll be in the draw. Thank you.
Awesome. And for those that listen or write on Facebook after listening to this podcast and also write the word guided, I will give or review, I will give away a free sound bowl healing. Don't just think my sound bowl healing for me banging on a few bowls. I'm sure there's many listeners that will go, oh.
I was there on yesterday, and yesterday? Wow.
Saturday.
Saturday, the day before. Not just sound bowl singing kind of experience. That is for real.
Yeah.
Whoever wins that will be very fortunate to
Yeah.
experience Sound Bowls of Lily.
So, Kay, how do people find you? Where do they go if they want to purchase one of your candles? Do you sell internationally? Give us the goes.
So if you want to go to my website, you'll find all the candles listed there. They are at lightseed.nz. That is my website, lightseed.nz. And I'm on Instagram at lightseednz, Facebook, Lightseed also. That is where you will find me and my candles.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you for your time. Thank you for sharing. I know that your candles, a number of my own clients have purchased them, and also I have them. And I know that I believe you're drawn to whatever candle you need at whatever particular time you're moving through.
I think so. I think it's just that it's pretty easy to be drawn. But if you're not, send me a message and I will help you find which one. They've got their names align with the intention, and their crystals in them as well align with the intention and the fragrance. They all marry together. So but otherwise send us a message. Thank you so much for this opportunity to speak, Lily. I've really appreciated it, and I love listening to your podcast. So it's a real honor to have been here today. Thank you for your time as well.
Awesome. Thank you.